The Cubs erased a 3-run deficit in the 9th inning of Game 4 in San Francisco to come back and win 6-5 and move on to the NLCS. That's tied for the largest 9th inning comeback in a postseason game in MLB history, a comeback fans are never going to forget. Westgate Las Vegas Superbook currently has the Cubs as a 5-4 favorite to win it all. The Blue Jays have the second best odds at 5-2. Max, would you take the Cubs or the field in the World Series?
The field. That clear enough an answer for you, Stephen A? The field.
Thank you. Thank God. You came right out and gave it to me. I'm so touched. I'm so touched.
You two are unbelievable.
You get it. Every argument. You just don't know it.
I did not have to wait an hour for your answer. I'm thankful. Go ahead.
I cannot believe the delusion that you think you wait. All right.
Let's get a clock.
Go ahead.
I need a clock, a stopwatch.
Let's put a clock on it. Exactly.
Go ahead.
Like in speed chess.
I think you want the camera time. That's what I think.
The Cubs are a 100-plus win team. And 100-plus win teams, qualitatively different than other kinds of teams. I mean, you win 100 games, they're the best team in baseball. The Cubs are the best team in baseball. The thing about baseball, and football for that matter, is these are fundamentally probabilistic sports. They are not deterministic the way I would argue the NBA is. Not college, one and done in the tournament. Best team doesn't always win. In the NBA, best of 7, best team always wins. I mean, the champion deserves to be champion. Not case in football. We've seen many Super Bowl champions. People accuse me as a Giants fan, oh, they got a little lucky. No, you're right, they did. Absolutely. Were they necessarily the best team that year? No, not necessarily, but they got hot at the right time. Same thing is true in baseball, Stephen A. Smith. If you run into a team, even if you're the superior team, even if you have the secret sauce that Nate Silver and others looked into several years ago when they found that all the conventional baseball wisdom about pitching and defense wins in the postseason is in fact true. It is true. Pitching and defense wins. Guys who don't make errors, guys with good range in the field, pitchers who miss bats, power pitchers, those teams win in the playoffs, and that is the Chicago Cubs. But all that does is stack the deck in your favor. If you go to Vegas and you count cards with a whole group of guys, you can be counting cards with card sharks for a month, and the casino will still clear you out because all it means is you tip the scales 51% in your favor. That doesn't mean you necessarily win. It's the same thing in baseball. The Cubs should be the odds-on favorite. They are the best team in baseball. That does not mean they win the World Series. Not this far out, not when you have 2 rounds of baseball still to play.
Well, first of all, let's be clear. They're the favorites for a reason because they were the best team in Major League Baseball all year long. Toronto was incredibly impressive. I did not expect them to sweep the Texas Rangers. I certainly didn't expect the Indians to smoke the Red Sox. That happened as well. The Dodgers and the Nationals are panning out to be exactly what I thought they would be. But once again, Kershaw pitches deep, and I think that his staying power, his stamina, I'm not sure that's going to last.
Short rest.
But more so than anything else, the Cubs beating the San Francisco Giants, a team that had won the World Series in 3 of the last 5 years, 2012, 2010, 2012, 2014. It was supposed to be 2016. It didn't happen. But think about Bochy, rather. Look at what he did. 5 different relievers in the 9th inning after Matt Moore came out there, pitched sensational baseball. Somehow, some way, the Cubs hung around. Chris Bryant getting a single. Zobrist driving in an RBI. Baez finishing the deal. Aroldis Chapman coming in and closing with the kind of heat that he closed. I remember watching Game 1. I thought that I was like, what is Madden doing? Leave Lester in there because Aroldis Chapman is scaring me. You know, I don't know about him right now, but let me tell you something. He ended up closing the deal in Game 1, and boy, did he close out the deal last night, striking out the side, throwing 102 miles an hour. When you look at the Chicago Cubs, they've got youth, they've got athleticism, they've got big bats in Bryant and Rizzo and others, okay? They've got defense, they've got pitching, they've got a manager extraordinaire in Joe Madden. Theo Epstein is the real deal. And this is without Arrieta being at his best. Let's keep that in mind. And so I look at it from that perspective. I'm taking the Cubs over the field. If there was ever
Is the curse over?
I believe it is. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why I picked them coming into this postseason. I just got the sense that this is it. And more importantly, them beating San Francisco. If it were anybody else, Max, I would not make such a big deal of it. But to go up against the Bumgarners of the world, the Posies of the world, and others, and to find a way to still come out on top, overcoming a 3-run deficit in the 9th inning, pulling it out the way that they did, I do believe it's gotten to a point where we need to look at destiny's ride flowing in Chicago's
direction. And if there was
direction.
a moment for that, because the most dangerous series, even if you're the best team, is the shorter series. You know, the fewer games you play, the more you get, the lesser team can beat the better team.
Right.
You think about that 9th inning. And I don't know about the decision not to bring Matt Moore back in the game. I know he was at 120 pitches, but when he was going for his no-hitter in August. It's true, it's easy to second guess from where I'm sitting. But he was going for his no-hitter in August. He went up to 133 pitches, and he got the first 2 outs of the inning before he gave up the hit in the final at-bat. If there's a time to ride a starter now and let him pitch.
But didn't he throw 120 pitches?
He had 120. It was 120, but in the
Max?
previous inning, he'd struck out 2 guys, including the last guy he faced.
But
and the San
120.
Francisco bullpen is notoriously bad. I think if the curse was broken, I think it happened on Zobrist's RBI. Because at that point, you thought nobody out, a double, run in. Now it's a 2-run game. And you think
agree with me?
And you think about the alternative. If they would have lost that game, they have to go and face San Francisco in a Game 5 where San Francisco's greatest weakness, their bullpen, is addressed by their greatest strength, Bumgarner. That was, if the Cubs go on to win it, I would say the curse was broken on that Zobrist-based hit as much as anything else.
Well, then it happened, Max.
No,
so
I don't think you can say they're taking against the field.
Zobrist drove in the RBI. You said if the curse is broken, right? You wanted to sit up there and enlighten us with your baseball brilliance, and you do know your baseball, but you wanted to take a moment to enlighten us with your baseball brilliance, and all the while, all you did was make my case stronger because Zobrist did drive it, hit an RBI, you know, and then Baez did hit the game winner, and then Aroldis Chapman did come in and shut him down and close the deal. So it seems to me that everything that you just took the time to enunciate and explain so thoroughly and beautifully and eloquently, I might add, it seems to me that you're making my point in order to take, in terms of taking the Cubs instead of the field.
No, I'm saying if they win over the field, I'll look to that moment as a pivotal, maybe curse-breaking moment. However, I would caution you.
And I'm saying it is.
I would caution you that even though the Cubs are the best team, on paper and in fact throughout the course of the season. I remember a Seattle Mariners team won 116 games and lost in the postseason to the Yankees. I remember a Yankees team that seemed like it was destined to win the World Series in 01 and ran into some hot pitchers who were great pitchers in Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling and lost in 01.
That ain't the case you just made. You made my case.
The best team, who also seems like the team of destiny, can still lose if they run into some hot starting pitching, which could easily happen.
So in other words, they could, but at the same time, you understand where I'm coming from when I'm telling you the curse is broken.
Well,
just admit it.
The curse is broken.
Just admit it. That's all.
I will look to that moment.
I know it's hard. I know it's hard to admit once again. Stephen A. I mean, he's just a prophet. He's right. I understand it's hard, Max, but come to the light. Come to the light.
By the way, time will tell. Either the Cubs will win and you'll be right, or the field will win and you'll be wrong and I'll be right.
Oh, Lord.
Feisty.
My attitude with respect to all young people, including athletes who may have a higher profile, is you get engaged, you get involved, you get educated about the issues that are affecting your lives, and then figure out what's the best way for you to make a difference. Some people may decide that's through protest. Others may decide, I want to mentor. So my advice is not that there's one way of bringing about change. I think there are multiple ways of bringing about change. If you are committed, engaged, and have studied the issues, then you'll have a positive impact and you'll find what feels right for you.
That was the president appearing last night on ESPN's town hall from the campus of North Carolina A&T, which is the nation's largest historically black university. Stephen A., what was your reaction to the town hall last night?
Well, I deeply appreciated our president saying what he said, highlighting how there are a multitude of ways to make a difference. You know, he's talking about it's not just about protesting. Sometimes it could be about mentoring. Sometimes it could be about putting your money where your mouth is behind certain causes. Sometimes it could be uplifting young brothers and sisters by playing the role of mentors, you know, taking them to games, meeting them for lunch, having conversations with them, advising them, counseling them, etc. It harkens me back to something somebody I have great admiration for, my man Joe Madison, who hosts the Sirius XM radio show on the Urban View channel. He's always asking his callers, okay, I hear what you're saying. What are you going to do about it? There are a multitude of things that you can do. You can call your local councilman or woman. You can call your local congressman or woman. You can call your local senator, et cetera, et cetera. You can do things to make a difference. The reason why that resonates with me so profoundly, y'all, allow me to be incredibly open about myself and what a multitude of African Americans have to endure who are in the public eye, who are deemed to have a voice. On far too many occasions, one of the issues that exist within our community is that people want to define for you what you should be doing. And they want to highlight one specific way or one specific thing you should be doing in order for you to make a difference. And if you don't do it their way, they got a problem. Allow me to give you a perfect example, Max. So many times we talk about Michael Jordan and how Michael Jordan, we attach that infamous, bad sort of negligent quote where he talked about how Republicans buy sneakers too, something he said in the 80s or 90s. And obviously, you would have preferred at times that he was a Jim Brown, that he was a Kurt Flood, that he was a Muhammad Ali, okay? That he was even a LeBron James who's been willing to speak out on a bevy of issues in recent memory. But we ignore the fact that he's almost a billionaire, if not a billionaire already, that he employs black people, that he puts money in the pockets of African Americans who he employs, that he helps to educate folks. Same thing with a Kobe, same thing with a LeBron, etc. We ignore those kind of things because we want to define what somebody is supposed to be doing. So for the president to come out and to say, there's not one particular way to skin a cat, and there's not one particular way to be, or to attribute or to give a contribution to our communities, I think that was incredibly important, particularly considering the locale, which was North Carolina A&T, which is right down the road from my alma mater, right up the road from my alma mater. Great university, by the way.
I want to piggyback off what you just said, Stephen A., because expressions of anger and protest frequently, for example, Kaepernick's and many athletes, that can be constructive, and the president wasn't saying it can't be constructive. He's saying at times that is good, if that's a platform you can use. But oftentimes expressions of anger feel good in the moment, but that moment is fleeting. You know, it almost acts as a safety valve. You don't like the way things are, the status quo isn't good, and so you're going to say something, and you feel helpless about it, you express your anger, and you stick it to the man. And then that little safety valve releases that steam, and you just go back to life in the status quo as it was. And what the president was saying, I mean, a significant protest is, sure, it's good, but you can also, just by like mentoring a kid, sticking it to the man feels good in the moment, but helping a kid actually has a lasting effect over the long run. And so there are various ways that you can make societal contributions and change the status quo that don't have to be just an outward expression of anger that feels good in the moment, a protest that if you have a platform to do it, there are all kinds of ways that people can chip in. I thought that was very good. I thought Stan Verrett, by the way, used that Sawatsky technique, that's the interview guru here at ESPN, and put the president right in describe, explain mode, and did a fantastic job. The president had to carefully choose his words because Stan was doing such a good job with the interview.
Knowing our company, he probably met with Sawatsky for about 10 hours before the Obama interview. But let me also say this. Listen, what you're essentially saying is that you got to take into account the repercussions as well, because sometimes getting caught in the moment of emotions, it feels good to exhale at that particular moment in time. It doesn't take into account the collateral damage and the ultimate ramifications that could come to follow because of those few moments of emotions. These are the kind of things that we have to take into consideration. Just a few weeks ago, you had Isaiah Washington, the former actor from Grey's Anatomy, who's an outstanding actor, by the way, really wanting black folks not to spend their money on a particular day just to bring attention to the cause that the African American community finds itself fighting against in this day and age. Whereas a justice columnist, Sean King, for the New York Daily News, appeared to be a bit more organized in what he wanted to do. But instead of joining in initially, what Isaiah Washington wanted folks to do was join him. And then when folks didn't do that, then ultimately he modified his position. But again, people sometimes are not on the same page, coming from two different places. Although the goals and the agendas may very well be the same, some things need to be thought out. Things don't need to be initially reacted upon, particularly based off of emotion. Because
Yeah,
you usually lose.
That's expedient and feels good, but the doing part is harder. And I thought the president focused on that very well.
And if you missed the town hall, you can check it out on the undefeated.com, their website. A ton of great content there.